to my college in the east side of the world, IIT Kharagpur. And I didn't know how to speak in English that time. As soon as I started the bike, I got a flat tire. I am just like kind of exhausted. And my glutes, these muscles start moving. So which means my leg was actually not going down, on the bike. I got very excited and I'm like jumping and the water is freezing. And I'm going back and forth in the water. Anything is possible in this world. Now we are getting into the other segment of my life. We talked about professional, but I think you are here to listen to my Ironman journey. Here is the journey of my life of my past 10 years. So 10 years ago, 2012, I'm in India. I took my first move from New Delhi to my college in the east side of the world, IIT Kharagpur. And on the first day, I was sitting in this orientation program looking at the college president, the student president. And I didn't know how to speak in English that time. And I was like, I want to be this guy. Because I just like how he's charming on the stage and interacting with 1,300 students. And that just inspired me and created a dream for me on my first day of the college. And I was like, I'm going to do everything to become the college president now. And for 3 years, I worked really hard in the entire college. Everyone knew that there is one person who is contesting in the elections where all the 12,000, 13,000 people going to vote. One person who's going to contest in the election, it's Atal. Either he wins or not, it doesn't matter. But he will give his act and he will take his actions because he believes his action is only in his hands. He doesn't care about the results and he's going to take his shot. And I contested in that election. I taught myself how to speak in English and I won with the highest margin in the history of the college. Wow. So that just started me realizing that yes, anything is possible in this world. Whatever we want to do, if we really want to do it and we work hard for it, we will get it there. But it's more about what comes from within you, where you will be realizing that, okay, this is what I want to do, and you have to work hard for it and keep focusing on the action to get there, Now the second part of the story, now I became the college president, and I'm like very happy about it. Now it's about doing for the people. That's what I signed up for. 2 days into my kind of like how it started and I became the president, I met one of the most successful alumni from my college. His name is Vinod Gupta. He's one of the top shots from India, from my college. He has given more than $20 million to my college and has a school in his name called as Vinod Gupta School of Management. He's from my dorm and I met him outside dorm and I said, hey sir, nice to meet you. He said, so you are the newly elected vice president or the president of the college? I'm like, yes sir. He's like, I got a gift for you. He brought an iPhone and he gave that iPhone to me. I have a phone in my hand of $50 and here he gives me a phone of $1,000. And I was like, I don't know what I should do with this thing. It's just like, I was not even understanding the situation here. I'm like, I didn't deserve this, I handed over to one of my seniors. I'm like, you take it, bro. I don't want to use this phone. He's like, no, this is for you. So I ended up taking the phone back for sure, I was like using it. But that's how I made one of the most beautiful connections in my life. And then I walked with him throughout the hostel. We went on a walk and I told him, sir, this is what we want to get done in the institute. And he being a philanthropist, he wanted to help and give back in more ways. So we met. And here I am. I didn't send a thank you email to him because I was just being the president and I wanted to get things done. I got too busy. 2 days later, he sent me an email that, hey, it was great meeting you. And here I'm like a little ashamed. I'm like, I should have thanked him first, about this iPhone at least, what I got. And 2 days later, he sent this email and here I am. And I kind of replied back to him that, hey, I am very grateful to you. I'm thankful that everything that you do for the college and how you help our community. And he just replied back, hey, what are you doing in summers? Come to US and work with us. I'm like, what is happening? Here I don't have a summer internship planned for myself. And here I met this amazing man. And he wants me to come to America, which is like a dream for most of the people in the world. I'm like, yes, sir, I would love to come. Immediately, I replied in 10 minutes. I'm like, yes, sir, I want to come. And that's how I decided and came to the US to do an internship that summer. Now I continue building in this relationship because, in my opinion, relationships are very important in life. For us to live a good life, we need to have very healthy, good quality relationships. So I built this relationship with him as well as a lot of people as I came on this visit to the US. And as I was graduating at the end of my final year, he said, do you want to study here? I would love to sponsor some of your fees. And at that time, I wanted to really do a startup, and I did take a job from my campus because I wanted to do something for the community in a big way. And I was like, but it's not a bad idea to get actually education and explore the west side of the world. So I applied to two colleges, UCSB and Stanford. Stanford rejected me and UCSB accepted me. And I said, now, irrespective of how the course is going to be, one thing I know, I would have a good time on the beach. So this American dream is at least going to be served in some way by sitting on the beach for 9 months, and then we will figure out, what life is going to be. So I came to the US to do my master's, and that thing in my mind about doing my own startup didn't go away. I was like, no, I want to do it. And here I'm facing all these challenges of immigration and this and that on my mind, what to do. And I'm like, no, what I gotta do is I gotta do. And I'm like, okay, so there was this competition in the final 3 months, entrepreneurship competition, and I participated in that competition. And I won the first prize in the competition and got $15,000 as the prize money for this random startup idea that I pitched on how to clean solar panels. I was like, oh my God, now this is gonna be my $1 billion company. And I was like, now I'm going all in. I will figure out everything. And I kept working on that startup idea with my team. We convinced a couple of angel investors who decided to give $75,000 because they were like, they just loved our energy and passion. And I'm like, yes, I'm gonna build this company up. 3 to 6 months down the line, as I kept working on that hardware startup idea, I realized the idea that I was pitching does not make sense. I myself, whatever I was believing in the hypothesis, I'm like, this experiment has completely failed. Now I can keep believing in the fake story for myself, or I can do something worthy of my time, because time is the most precious resource in this world. We all know we are born and we are gonna die, and we have to make sure we are living a great life. So as I went on this journey of 3 to 6 months on the startup, after that I'm like, I should take a job. So I gave away whatever money was left from the investment back to the investors, and I took my first job. But at that time, I knew that I have to learn before I do anything else, So I took my job at one of the healthcare company as product manager, and product management is something I enjoy. So I joined there, worked there for 2 years, and this passion started coming back at me that, hey, I want to do something more, So during COVID, I kind of pitched a hackathon idea within the company that, hey, let's help people find COVID testing locations because people were struggling to find where to get tested. Every day, the locations were changing. So I pitched this idea and it started becoming a big thing in the company. And it helped more than 10 million people find COVID testing locations across the country. And Andrew Cuomo, who was a good guy at that time, the governor of New York, he kind of had this laptop and he pitched our website as a part of it. He's like, hey, this is where you can go get COVID testing locations and find it. I was like, wow, that's a success, Coming from somewhere in India, from a remote village like Rampur in Uttar Pradesh, where I was born and brought up, to now in one of the dream countries for humans. Here I am creating value for so many people around the world. That just fulfilled me so much. And but things do not end everywhere the way you want. This is the truth of life. My startup failed, and then I got fired from that job. And I was like, I worked so hard for this product, and I got fired. It was very hard for me to digest that I got fired by working hard. But at the same time, these situations kind of teach us that there is so much better we can still do, which means I could have taken this getting fired in a lot of ways, One could be like, hey, I don't want to change. There was nothing wrong with me. Or one is, hey, I can learn something from this experience and move forward. So I took the best of that experience I knew there were things about my relationship with my manager which could have been a lot better, which I didn't know at that time. I'm like, I want to grow, I want to grow, I want to become a better human being. So whatever I did not learn, I'm like, this is what I learned, and I started searching for a new job. In a month, I got 3 job offers that started paying me double the pay of what I was making there, and 2 roles higher than what I was working there. And I was like, wow, this isn't that bad, but I also knew I had to grow and become a better human and learn how to work with manager. So then I started kind of like going into learning about working with people a lot better. And that was my last job with the company where I worked for 2 years. And in 6 months, I got promoted in that company again, which is like, okay, whatever I worked on actually was delivering value. Now we are getting into the other segment of my life. We talked about professional, but I think you are here to listen to my Ironman journey.
One must have an extraordinary dream. A goal so high, a journey so demanding that its achievement to most seems impossible.
So 5 years ago, I couldn't run a mile. And athletics was not my dream. If you would ask me Ironman, I would be like, what is this thing? Or if you would have asked me 3 years ago also, I was like, I don't know what is this Ironman thing, It just so happened that I wanted to just challenge myself and see what else I can do in my life. And I knew fitness is important. I loved spending time in nature. I loved spending and going out in nature. And that's just how I was exploring. I was like, okay, I want to try biking. I want to try new things, whichever I can learn in this world. And slowly, I didn't realize 3 miles, 5K, 10K, then I was like, I want to challenge myself more. Okay, let's do half marathon. I was like, okay, this is not that bad. Then I'm like, okay, let's do full marathon. And this is just in 5 years, from 0 to I became an Ironman, where I did 2.4 miles of swimming. And you swim for around 2 hours, you go in that lake, and then you come out, then you get on your bike, and you go 112 miles on the bike. And then you come back, and immediately you change your clothes, and you're like, let's go for a run for 26.2 miles. And you start in the morning at 6 a.m. And also add when you can't sleep on the night before too, because it's hard to sleep in that moment. And then you're like, no, I'm going to do it. And you go on that journey and you end it at 10 p.m. in the night. So that's how it happened. So my presentation is called Human. What I want you to understand is humans in general go through a lot. And I will talk about my part of like going through depression also last year. And I want us to understand that all these experiences are a part of human life. At the same time, we can still do so much more. Because the potential of a human mind is still unexplored. And if we think about it, we are all explorers on this planet, and we are all walking and trying to figure out what's the best life for us. I don't think anyone has figured out. The way I look at it, I think about Gandhi. Gandhi said, my experiments with truth. I kind of keep thinking why Gandhi would say something like, my experiments. Then I thought, what happened with Gandhi actually is Gandhi was also experimenting with life. He was just trying to be truthful. And he kept walking like a truthful man. And he achieved so much for our country, for my country, India, just by being truthful. So that gave me a perspective that just believing in yourself, you can go so far in your life. Because there is no one way about life. There are just so many ways. And all the ways are good. There is no perfect model that, hey, this educated person, you go through this education system and you're going to be very successful. No, I don't think there is any way. Everyone is figuring out their own way, and there are always better ways for us to show our excellence. But what is more important is to actually do and give our best. Because that is in our hands always. But results, no, that's not in our hand. So it was never in our hand, it will never be in our hand. And that is something which we should not focus on. There is no goal of life. It is the fun in the journey that we are going through, which is actually making it more meaningful for all of us. So whatever we are experiencing in this very moment, by sitting together, our consciousness, This is the journey. From today, I'm going to learn from you all. And today, you're going to learn something from me. And this is all life is about. These memories, these moments. You know, you are going to take inspiration from here and you're going to become great leaders for the world. And same, I'm going to learn from you all and I'm going to take the best from you all. That's just how life works. So that's kind of where I have touched a lot of topics about my Ironman journey. Now, either we can do Q&A or I can go deep into my race day, whatever you prefer.
I would like to, all of us would like to hear, because this is something which is living in the moment and living on the edge, right? Living in the moment and living on the edge. Mm-hmm. We want to hear that way.
Yes, so definitely. I think I do live on the edge most of my life. I will tell you why. So I got laid off on November 1st from my job. And I have 60 days as an H-1B holder to actually find a new job. Different people approach these things in different ways. I will tell you how I approached. So I asked myself, what are the things I want to accomplish in this country if I have to leave in 60 days? So I said, this dream, this dream, this dream. Okay. Then I started running towards my dream. So if you ask me that, Atal, did you have a dream to run a full Ironman race? If you would have asked me this in October, I would have said no. I didn't have a dream. Because this was just not a part of my journey, I was like not curious about running a race for the sake of showing to others. I was trained because I always believed in training, but I never did it training in the mindset of running an Ironman race. I just never did that way. But when I was on November 1st, and I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? I'm like, if I'm leaving this country, then I better run this Ironman race. So I looked up all across everywhere in US. I'm like, what are the races left? And I found one race in Ironman Arizona, which was still going to happen on November 20th. It was a sold out race. I knocked on every door of this country. I said, I want to run this race. And I'm like, hey, I got laid off and I want to run this race before I leave this country. And somehow from the entire universe, someone said, hey, you got to raise money now from the people if you want to run this race. I'm like, I'm going to raise money and otherwise I'm going to pay from my severance, but I will run this race before I leave this country. So I raised $3,000 to be able to run this race on November 20th. And this was the decision I made on November 10th. And think about it. Ironman is a really endurance challenge. And here I am, who has not jumped in the water in a lake in the last 14 months. And I was like, what should I do? Death of a dreamer or death of dreams? Right? It's a hard situation. But at the same time, it's about taking calculated risk. I knew I can get in the water now, at least, right? And I'm going to touch on the previous story about me drowning also. But in this moment, I knew that if I could do it 14 months ago, like getting into the water, I should be able to do it now also. But I just know I was not trained. So what I did is I was like, okay, I want to give it a shot. And here I am without any swimming kind of experience in the last 14 months. And I'm here ready to jump right in Arizona actually 2 days before the race. And I learned that, okay, they have a practice swim the day before so that you can test out the water in the lake, So I was like, yes, this is going to help me at least get comfortable in the water. I'm there in the venue day before the race. And I'm talking to people there and I'm like, hey, I'm going to be practicing my swim. They're like, hey, you registered late, so your name is not in the list. And without a timing chip, you can't jump in the water. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you saying tomorrow on the race day is when I'm going to jump in a freezing lake after 14 months without practice? I'm like, I didn't sign up for this far, I'm like, I signed up, I knew in some things, but not this level. And I was freaking out the day before the race. And I'm like, oh my God, here I am stuck and I want to run this. I want to do this race so badly. At the same time, I have not been in water and I have not been in deep water, which is my biggest challenge most of the time. And I'm in Tempe and I called all the swimming pools nearby. I'm like, whoever got a deep water pool where I can go in 15 feet deep so that at least I know how to kind of walk around, in freezing water. That at least gives me some confidence. So at that time, I made this decision, and I went in the pool. I biked really fast from there. I'm like, it was closing in 2 hours. I'm like, I gotta be in water right now for at least an hour to be comfortable with this. So I did that, and now now we're gonna talk about the race day. So here I am, and in the morning at 4 a.m., and I'm like all anxious because this is way above my level of training. And I'm like, how I'm going to do this? And I was like, no, if you do half, it's okay, because it doesn't matter, sometimes it's just like giving you a chance, giving you a shot, which is what I want to preach and I want to believe in. And in the morning, I'm standing in the queue for getting into the water, and I don't have a timing chip as well. And 30 seconds before the race, they are like, hey, this is your timing chip. I'm like, thank you. Now at least I can jump in the water. And I was wearing a wetsuit, which actually got ripped off in the morning itself. I'm like, okay, so now I'm going to be more cold. Yes, this is what I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted and how I want it to be. Now I jumped in the water. Okay. Very excited. I will show you all the photos which I have. I got very excited, and I'm like jumping, and the water is freezing. And I'm going back and forth in the water. I'm like, is this something I really want to do right now? Because I'm feeling like I might not be able to get through this, And then I was looking at the rising sun from one direction. It's just morning. And I was like, Atal, no, today you gotta do it. There is no way out. Keep looking at the sun and you keep going. And slowly, my hands started to move. My legs started to move in that freezing water, and I kept swimming. And all my focus was on, okay, here's the sun. Today is not my last day. I have done this before. I have done swimming before, and I'm going to knock this out. I kept going. And for around 2 hours, I just kept swimming in that lake. And then there are all the other athletes who are kicking you on your face or on your head. And you're like, oh my God, my glasses should not get water. I'm like, I'm swimming far away from everyone else because I was like, if they hit my eyes and my glasses get water, it's going to be so tricky to put it back. And I kept swimming slowly after 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and I'm like, now I was feeling really hypothermic in that moment. And I'm like, still I have some way to go. But then I was like, no, Joe, you just got to keep swimming. There is no stopping here. There is no way out. And I just kept swimming. And as soon as I ended the swim, I was like, oh my God, this was so cool. And I removed all the wetsuit and all. And in that moment, they are like, hey, I was thinking about actually using the same shorts, which I was wearing for the swim for my biking part. But then I was like, no, I do not care. I am not wearing this so cold clothes for the next part of the race, which is bike. Change my clothes immediately, put on the bike, put a really, really good jacket. I was like, I do not care what other athletes do in these races. I want to be so warm right now and want to make sure that's how I pick up the bike. And that's when I started the bike. As soon as I started the bike, I got a flat tire. And that was the first flat tire of my life. I have done more than 5,000 around, I think, miles. But I just get lucky because I'm a preventive guy. So I replace the tires before they go bad and everything. So I never get flat tires. But that was the first day. I got a flat tire as soon as I picked my bike. And here I'm like, okay, so this was also supposed to happen today. This is exactly how I wanted it to be or planned to be. So I removed, and then I'm asking for help from other people, and someone helped and changed my tire quickly. I'm like, okay, sure, let's keep going. 2 miles in, I got another flat tire. Now when I met the next person, I'm like, hey, dude, I'm getting flat tire. Something must be wrong, He's checked the tire, and he's like, oh, you have a thorn from the cactus in Arizona. So I was like, okay, so let's just fix this permanently this time, we should just remove this. And we removed it, and then I kept biking and kept going up and down. There were 3 laps, and I kept doing it. On the 3rd lap, around mile 80, I am just like kind of exhausted. And my glutes, these muscles start moving. So which means my leg was actually not going down, on the bike. And this has never happened with me before. So I was like, I don't know, is this a new thing? Like, is this it at all? It's like, is this where your endurance ends? Which is fine, I was like, it's fine. But is this where it ends? I was like, but this is something new. I put my bike on the side and I sat on the side of the road and I saw these two Indian guys going. I'm like, bro, come here. Massage my leg, please. I don't know what is happening here. Can you help me? And they are massaging my leg and I'm like, okay, this is helpful. Somehow I'm able to get some blood flow going in my leg here. Then I was like, okay, let's get back on the bike. And I was like, oh my God. So one hand I'm holding my bike and one hand I'm like kind of like massaging my legs so that there's less pain. As I kept going, I'm like around mile 85 and the bike ride is 112 miles. I'm realizing that this method is not working. And I'm asking other athletes who are around me, I'm like, hey, this is in pain. What do you guys do? Because I just never trained in a way where a lot of athletes train. They're like, bro, you gotta just endure the pain. Someone is like, hey, I will take this Advil. I'm like, no, I'm not taking Advil for sure. Otherwise, it just defeats the purpose for me specifically, how I wanted to run this. But I'm gonna go through the pain. And then for the last 20 miles, I was just biking, standing on the bike. And here this is the middle part of the race. We haven't gone into the third part of the race, which is run, which is also full marathon, 26 miles. And here, this is my condition on the bike. I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna run. But all I know right now is this is how I need to focus on the moment so that at least I complete the bike portion of it. And I kept biking or standing on the bike and kept going 112 miles. And as soon as I was done with the bike, I'm like, okay, now let's just quickly change and get on the right run portion. So I have new shoes and everything. And I'm like, this time, focus is not about how fast I complete this run. I got to make sure I'm doing a good form run and making sure my energy is conserved, because otherwise I'm going to lose a lot of extra energy in just this process. Kept going slowly. I'm looking at all of the people around me. They're like, most of the people are kind of like just walking. I'm like, no, I have to go on my own form. And I have to keep walking with my own form, whichever I believe, in my own pace. Because there is no competition. There is just me yesterday and my today. And my today is more beautiful than my yesterday. That's all that matters to me. Kept going this way slowly for around 15-16 miles. 15-16 miles, slowly. I was like, wow, that is just like, at least I have run more than half marathon now, 30 miles. So I'm getting closer to my goal. And around 16-17, it's like late in the night. We are at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Sun is already down. And I'm like, I don't know how to do the rest. But I was like, just got to keep pushing forward. Slowly. So I was walking really fast, and downhill I will run really fast and then walk and then run. This is how I managed to get around mile 22. And then mile 22, I thought about David Goggins. He has a book called as Can't Hurt Me. And I remembered from that book that how he kind of portrays about running, you kind of endure the pain that you go through. And for the rest 4 miles, it was just me with myself, and I was like, today is the first day, Atal. You are becoming a runner. You are not a runner, but today you're going to become a runner, and you got to keep pushing forward. And from mile 22 to mile 26.2, I always finished strong. And I was dancing on the finish line, because I was like, now I just crushed it. So that's my story about the race day. I started with a lot of anxiety, but I just kept focusing on the moment, just the next moment. At the start of the swim, just the next moment of being able to look at the sun and focus on how far can I go. And then bike ride, the same thing. And this is just how I ran the full Ironman race, So my message is, anything is possible. Everything is possible.